I feel like I'm starting these little video clips with apologies recently, but I've been away for a couple of weeks, so I haven't been on here doing any clips. A couple of people have said to me, "Where are the little film clips?" But I've been away for a couple of weeks, having a break. But it's good. When I was away, I've noticed that Ashley put a video on the page about men's suicide, which is a massive area. We've talked about that before, so thanks for that, Ash. I think it's really important as well to realise that it doesn't just affect men. More women actually attempt suicide in the UK than men. More men actually do it actually die every day from suicide, but more women attempt it. So things like depression and mental health, like it said in the video clip, can affect everyone. You know, depression and these dark thoughts don't discriminate against any race, colour, age, whatever it is, or sex. And my friend Kevin put a video on as well about Senator McCain in America, which I really liked. He sounded like a really nice guy. And it made me think as well. I've called this "What's Your Default Setting?" because an incident happened with me recently, and I was disappointed with myself. But I've always said I'll be honest on here. Had an incident with a couple of young lads. I won't go into what they were doing, but their behaviour was really annoying me. Hi, Robert. And I found myself going to my old default setting. I actually went out and spoke to them and asked them to stop what they were doing. And I asked them in the polite, I think I'm quite good with people, and I asked them in the politest way that I could, and they sort of seemed to accept that. They were okay. At first, they got a little bit defensive, but then they were okay with me. And I thought, okay, job done. But then they carried on doing what they were doing. And I felt my ego just come raging out. I went to my old default setting. Right, that's it. I've been nice to them. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Now they've had it. And I found myself getting really angry and worked up. And I realised, I've always said that we come from two places when we make decisions. We can come from a place of fear, which is where I was. So that's anger, jealousy, all of those things. It's not a good place to be. Or we can come from a place of love. So what I did in the end was sat down, thought about the situation, and thought, okay, at the moment I realise I'm coming from a place of fear. That's an old default setting. And I wanted to, have a go at these lads, to put it mildly. So I realised that if I came from a place of love, how would that look? And it completely changed my attitude to the whole situation. I started to look at these two lads, like, I don't want to go into details, but I started to look at them in a completely different light. And it completely changed the way I was looking at the situation. And I managed to calm down. And funnily enough, the situation has disappeared since I did that. So what the point I want to make here is that it's really important that we look at what our default settings are. If something happens in your life, how do you normally react, especially if it's something bad? Do you get angry? Do you go into your shell? Do you withdraw? Do you get jealous? All of those things, it's really important that you look at your default settings, because if you don't, they don't go away. It's like I asked a few questions on here when I first started the group. What's the main topics that people would like to look at? And people came up with things like relationships, anxiety, depression. But the biggest topic that came up was fear. And fear in lots of different ways. But our fears don't go away. Unless you look at them, you have to turn around and look at them and face them. Half the time they're not as bad as you think they are. But unless you turn around and look at them, you're not going to know that. And if you don't look at them, they're just going to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger in the background. So we need to look at them, and we need to face them. I was just reading Jordan Peterson's book while I was away. It's a really good book, by the way. But he was saying in there, it's a story that I first heard when I started my therapy work about 15 years ago, about a young lad who's got a dragon. And he's walking around with this dragon on a lead behind him, and he tells his mum, Mum, I've got this big dragon and it won't go away. And his mum refuses to see it, says, don't be silly, there's no dragon there. And this dragon gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So he tells his dad, and his dad refuses to see it as well. So there's nothing there. There's no dragon. Don't be so stupid. It gets to the stage that the dragon's getting that big that the mum, when she's doing the housework, has to go all the way out through the door and in through the window to clean some of the rooms, and still refuses to see this dragon. And it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until one day the dad comes home and the dragon's got that big, it's dragged off the house, the mum and the little boy, and he finds it. And it's then that they realise that they all have to turn around and face this dragon, because actually they can't deny it anymore. So it's a real metaphor for fear. You know, if you don't face your fears, they'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they'll get to the stage where you can't deny them anymore. In the story, when they turn around and they face the dragon, it actually starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller. It never goes away, but it becomes more manageable. So the fear bit is a really important thing. You know, what are your fears? What are you not facing? And also, when you're making decisions in life, are you coming from a place of love and compassion, or are you coming from a place of fear, anger, and all of those other things that go with that? You know, and that's a really simple question to ask yourself. When I'm making this decision, am I coming from a place of love, or am I coming from a place of fear? And that's the message that I wanted to share today. I hope everyone's okay. Keep putting input onto this, into the group. You know, the more input that goes into it, the more we can keep it going. And like I say, it's good to see that while I was away, people were still posting stuff. I want to hear what you've got to say as well. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.